Welcome to another episode of Lessons of a Tantra Goddess. We are here with the goddess herself, Caroline Muir. And if you've ever wondered, is there more to life than this? Is there more to relationships than this? Is there more to sex than this? You're in the right place because we have a treat for you. Caroline has been a Tantra teacher, practitioner, and a healer to hundreds of thousands of people in her beautiful career spanning over 40 years. And she's teaching her lessons to us through her experiences so we can really take some of the gems out of them and apply them in our own life without having to go and be a teacher and a practitioner of Tantra. We can take the wisdom of Tantra and apply it into our regular lives.
So, what is the wisdom of Tantra, you might wonder?
Yeah.
It's such a huge subject, and I've looked deeply and lived deeply to consolidate how few words I can find to use to explain to you or anyone what is Tantra and how do you live it and how does it apply to our relationships and our intimate lives. I've once read that Tantra is the yoga of everything. And that really landed for me because I love yoga. I love doing yoga. Yoga has transformed me in many good ways. I don't mean just physical postures and becoming more flexible, but as a way of quieting my mind and getting to know the deepest parts of myself.
Yeah.
So that Tantra would be the yoga of everything really takes it into the expanded truth that I believe Tantra is. So it's an expanded truth that every individual and couple can bring into their lives. Because if we're not looking for authenticity and truth, then we're just kind of dancing on top of the flower tops and
Absolutely.
not quite getting there.
Absolutely. And it ends up leading nowhere, right? Because authenticity and truth is really what breaks the divide between a true, long-lasting, loving, passionate, intimate relationship and something that you just kind of move through from one thing to another, because a fresh new relationship is always exciting. You know, there's always that attraction, the sparks are flying, but it's a different story 10, 15, 20 years in.
Yeah.
There has to be that depth and intimacy and truth, that deep truth of appreciating one another to make it exciting and make it fun.
Yes, and I realize every single day when I get up that I am the one that has to bring a bigger, better me to the relationship, to the good morning to him, to the my time making the coffee, to this next day of our life together. And I, like you, really have always had the fantasy of a forever partnership. But it's taken me several forever commitments to find the one that I know I'm going to be with. I say for the rest of my life, the way the longevitists are talking about how long we're going to live. It could be another 100 years, so I guess I can't actually say I know for sure.
Nobody knows for sure, but let's hope so.
Yeah, let's hope so.
I love the way Tantra brings in a different level of depth into the daily life, right? Because usually most of us are busy. We get up, we go to work, and we do our routine just to be at home, turn on the TV, and go to bed. So Tantra brings in a little bit more of a depth to a relationship where, like you said, you are more conscious in a moment to say to your partner, hi, you're my beloved, I love you. You connect, you touch them. And it's a different level of starting the day, moving through the day, and ending the day.
Yeah. And being more playful and youthful, I guess, also is part of my objective every day when I greet my partner and, show up in my same little jammies or whatever the typical things are that are the same as they were yesterday. It's within each individual. To be the surprise that you would like them to be.
Absolutely.
They might not think to be the surprise that you want, but we can do it, can't we?
Absolutely.
We women have we do have a capacity to change our whole look and change our hair and change our makeup without really doing a whole lot, except just moving it from one side to the other and glancing at our beloved with a different energy than just familiarity. And it's up to you to keep it exciting.
Yes. A lot of the times people ask me, you know, the number one thing usually that comes up is I have a partner and we have lost touch over the years. I really would like more intimacy. I would like more depth, but I don't know where to begin. I don't know how to start using, you know, our relationship as a ground for growth and not letting it just be the same, that same old status quo. And so I'm sure many of our viewers will relate to that because they might find themselves in a relationship where the status quo is just there. It's just not getting any better, and we want it to get better. We just don't know where to start. So what would be your advice to someone who's watching and says, I would really like to try some Tantra and some of these principles, and I would like to experiment with my partner that I may have been with for a few years, and things have just gotten comfortable, you know, and we want to connect on a deeper level.
Yeah, well, I can right off the top of my head picture how many seminars, weekends and week-long seminars that the couples that came to those where their relationship took a turn for the better was when we got them to sit facing each other. Maybe we would get the man to sit, the woman to sit on the man's lap, so her legs wrap around him, and they don't talk, they breathe together. And it's at that pivotal moment when the bodies are close, but there's no, you're in a group, in this case it was a group of 100 people, so you're obviously not going to become sexual or maybe even start kissing. So you start looking into each other's eyes and looking for the depth that really is there. And what happens is you usually go through the layers of embarrassment, looking away, wanting to talk, and yet your hands are around your partner's back and your bodies are close together and you're remembering to breathe more deeply. So we've said it before, we'll say it again, and I'll remind you every time that that is the easiest and most effective way to get started.
Yes. Thank you for sharing that with us. It's actually my favorite Tantra position and tool for reconnecting. I call it the yum yum position. It's actually called the yab yum. But it is the connection with your partner, because we go through life so quickly and we forget to pay attention. Where in the beginning of a relationship, what did we do? We had those rose-colored glasses on and we looked at our partner deeply. We wanted to know what they were thinking, what they were feeling. We wanted to be as close to them as possible. Right? And then over the time, over years, familiarity creeps in and you forget to appreciate your partner. This position where you open up, you sit chest to chest, heart to heart, and you breathe together. And at the beginning, you don't even have to look into each other's eyes. You can just begin to just breathe and feel, and over time, it will get easier. It's one of the most amazing, beautiful tools that Tantra has to offer.
It really is. The energy of the two of you without having to have sex, having to start kissing. And you might at some point ask your partner, what was the most important thing you read today or thought about today? Because for many of us, and I know for me, conversation with communication. So conversation that the dig's a little deeper than, did you notice so-and-so was leaving town for a week? But something more important to each other to begin to share that.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, we're so different. Usually it's not the same for everyone, but for the majority, women are more turned on through stimulation, right? They are not turned on just like that. They need a little bit more deeper of a connection. Questions, communication, you know, compliments. Whereas men have more of a quick on turn on,
a very
right?
quick
and
on.
so they're visually stimulated. They don't need that depth. And so the more we can bring Tantra into these moments of connection, the more we really get to cater to both partner's needs. You know, the partner who has more of a masculine energy and is turned on spontaneously gets that pleasure of seeing their partner, being connected physically. And the partner who needs a little bit more deeper connection and a little bit more turn on gets the satisfaction of having that as well. It's almost, this position, this technique is almost like a win-win for the partnership.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful way to start to be intimate. Like you said, it doesn't need to lead to intercourse,
Right.
but it's a beautiful way to, it's a prelude to being intimate.
I, as a woman, really did teach and have taught my partners, just if you want to get me interested, hold me close and ask me how I'm feeling.
Yes. Yeah.
And listen with interest
Absolutely.
to what I might answer.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
don't rush me through it, but be as patient as you can possibly be, even though the kids are coming home and we know dinner's on the stove and you might not get to have the sex you want in the 20 minutes we've set aside. It's going to arouse me for later if you have taken the time
Absolutely.
to listen to me.
Absolutely. Turn on is a whole day thing. It doesn't just happen like that, right?
Right? Yeah.
So, if you would like to give the yum yum position a try with your partner, we have a special gift for you for watching today's episode. We have created a quick 5-minute morning yum yum meditation for you. The link is in the show notes below. It's a beautiful way to turn yourself on, connect with your partner, and start your day on the right note. It takes 5 minutes. You and your partner will feel connected together. It's one of the most intimate ways to start the day, and you can do that even when your schedule is busy and you have lots of things on the to-do list. So give it a try.
Good.
And let us know. There's a powerful lesson in your book that comes through, and that is it's never too late. It's never too late to follow your heart. It's never too late to have the experiences that you want to have. It's never too late to have a good sex life, you know? And I feel like a lot of us relate to that because sometimes, and I'm sure our audience too might sit there and say, well, it's too late for me. I already am in this relationship where I'm not fulfilled. I already have this partner who I don't feel as much attraction to. I don't know how to get it back. And a lot of us create this little box for ourselves that we feel like it's too late to get out of. But what you show us through your experiences is that it's really never too late, and we can follow our heart. And it's all about just having the courage to open up the possibility of just going for it.
Yeah, I love that it's never too late to fall in love. It's never too late to be in love. It's never too late to change your hair. and you can, and it is too late to reverse your age, but not in your mind. Because, I mean, the older I get, the more I really connect with the part of me that is still very young and has a lot of wishes and hopes and fantasies and fun ideas about living the woman that I am and bringing that home to my partner. And if he's not awake to himself, I can further awaken him. Women are very creative, and we have ways of awakening. And it doesn't have to be sexual as you're thinking, well, I have to do sexual things I don't want to do. It's about play and connection and inquiry and touch. I know every time I start to rub my partner's back, he goes, oh God, they feel so good.
Absolutely.
Because he's been at the computer a lot of the day. And same for me, I really feel it in my legs. My knees are having a hard time. So when he picks up my feet or my legs, like if we're watching TV, I just land them in his lap. And the minute his hands are on my feet or my legs, I go, oh my God. So that to me is sex now. You know,
Absolutely.
Just touch me where I hurt.
Absolutely.
And I will be so grateful. I am so grateful.
Absolutely.
So at whatever decade you're in, whatever age you're going through with your partners, it does change over the years. It changes from hot, young sex to something different. It ages like fine wine in those casks and bottles, and it takes on a richness that if you're not looking for it, you might miss it.
Absolutely. Yeah. One of the tools that Tantra also taught me in techniques was to change the language around sex, to make it something special, to make it something sacred, to make it something divine. And I feel like there's a lot of power in using the proper language when we talk about each other's bodies and each other's connection, right? To ourselves, to our partner. So maybe if someone's watching right now and they're thinking, yeah, it's all nice, but I am here and we've been together for 20 years. I don't even know how to bring up that conversation. First of all, it's always better when you watch these things with your partner, so you have something to talk about. So maybe tonight, instead of Netflix, put on this video and watch it with your partner, and you have something new to talk about. And maybe think about changing the language around your own body, around your partner's body parts, and around the whole part of being intimate.
Good. I can really address that because as a nice girl from Kansas, I was very uncomfortable asking for something that I wanted. And I remember once a man said to me, well, tell me what you like, and that's what I'll do. And I couldn't say the words. I couldn't speak it. I went, well, you probably know. And so he did, as a man, what men like to do. But he didn't do what I wanted him to do because I couldn't say it. I couldn't use the words because I couldn't use the words, put your mouth on my yoni and kiss me there, down there. And so we aren't given a language for our sexuality. We aren't given a language for loving. And so we only have the language from porn or from the street or what guys hear from each other. And it isn't always what a woman wants to say. She doesn't always want to use the word cock for her man's penis because, after all, he is penetrating you deeply, and you might even produce life from that penetration. So what is another word? Now, it's not a sexy word, but the name lingam comes from ancient Tantra, and the meaning or the translation of the word is what's so powerful: wand of light or wand of God. Now, you think about it. When your guy has an erection and he's coming towards you with that erection, he might be thinking, I just want to get, but if you can begin to use the language of, oh, he's going to enter me with his wand of God. And both of you can get comfortable going beyond the sexy talk and into some of the beautiful languaging. That wand of God will feel like a wand of God inside of you, more than a cock.
Absolutely.
Because there's so much power in the spoken words. And for the women, we all know all the terms for pussy, but vagina certainly isn't not sexy. That's for that's for when you go to the doctor's office. But yoni is such a darling word, and it's from the ancient tantrics, and it means sacred space.
How beautiful is that?
How beautiful is that? I even can see mine as beautiful when I say, yes, I'd love to have you come into my sacred space now. Now my sacred space says yes. My yoni says yes. And at the beginning, you probably giggle and laugh, and it just seems so silly, and it's not very sexy anymore. Because the sexy words are meant to get you aroused.
It's true.
But arousal is in the heart, and arousal is in the mind, and it's also in the body. So I love the language of Tantra.
And language is powerful. The words we use have an impact. And so if you're coming towards your partner with a strong language that you're not even connecting with, like saying vagina, it is something for the doctor. It is something you learn in textbook. It's not sexy. It's not soft. But when you come into it thinking, yoni or a wand, it really does change the energy of the interaction. It changes your own energy, and it also changes your partner's energy, how you view them or how you move towards them.
And just those words, if you look into your partner's eyes, and the women, you're on top, and you say, I have a yoni that's coming to get you. He's going to respond to that. And those are ways that we can act and talk more sexy, that at some point in our lives, we really need to go beyond the sex talk, porn talk. It worked for a while,
Yeah.
But it gets old.
It gets old, yeah, yeah. This is a way to, once again, bring something different into a relationship where you may have gone into the routine, where sex life is now stale. Changing your language, changing the way you refer to one another, using "you're my beloved," or instead of saying a blowjob, you say "I will honor your wand." Right?
Oh, that's a beautiful.
These words can really shift the energy from just another, quick sex to get it over with, or that's what long-term relationships sometimes fall into. You now change the energy into something that is wonderful, something that is special. It's sacred. It's something that really turns you on.
Yeah.
Right?
It is sacred, and it takes practice to speak the sacred and live the sacred.
I think it's true for every part of our life. When we bring a level of being present and of being just interested and curious and truly being in the moment, meeting the moment, something changes. It is more sacred. But for a lot of us, with sex specifically, it's just something that's labeled dirty. That's just something that, is not something
or just
considered
sexy.
Sacred.
Yeah.
And so bringing that into it is really a game changer and can shift a lot of relationships from that stale, boring old sex into something new, into something exciting. It really is the reality for a lot of people.
A lot of people, I couldn't help but relate to just hearing the words boring old sex. For some people, you might go, what? Boring old sex is great. But for other people, boring old sex has gotten to be boring old sex. The same thing. He gets off, you don't. For instance. It's all about him, but not about you. We really have a deep connection to the feminine. I've worked so many years with women who have come to me for the healing work because so many women have been entered and have been used for the man's release and his pleasure. And it's never been about love. It's never been about connection. And so there's a part of a woman's body down there that begins to go, I could just as soon live without that. And I've heard many women say after a husband passes away or something, I don't think I need to be with a man again. But when they learn about Tantra and they meet a man who's speaking the tantric words and bringing this kind of sacredness to sexual connection, that's when a woman wakes up again.
Turns her on, opens her up, and creates that want again that is so natural to all of us. We just forget that it's our nature to be sexual. Just as we breathe, just as we digest food, sexuality is just as natural to our human body as all of the other functions.
Especially when it can feel like union. The union with your partner. The same partner 40 years later. You can feel no union for a week or two, and then suddenly you open your eyes as he enters you, and you are feeling union with that beloved. And wow, that's kind of where we're headed in these long-term relationships, is towards more union.
That's the goal. So it's never too late to create the sex life, the partnership of your dreams. You can do that right now in your own home with the partner you already have. And so take advantage of what you've just learned. You never know what is the one thing that will take you from the same old mundane into something magical, into something that will wake you up, that will turn you back on. So try to change your language today. Change your language of your own body, of your partner's body and their body parts, and change the way you use those words into a more sacred and sexy way.
You might need to invite your partner to have this conversation so that if you say to him, I would invite you to honor my yoni, he's going to know what you're talking about. So you want to translate how you used to say it to how you're now going to say it. And there may be a moment of, it's just too sacred. Sorry, it sounds too spiritual. Not interested. And it would be normal because there's a transition that we have to make. Many of us have to make, but I think many of you women will notice how good it feels to begin to use this kind of languaging for the beauty of sexuality.
And change the energy around it. So, if you'd like to start connecting with your partner on a deeper, more intimate level, but don't have the courage to use the words yet, we have a special, beautiful gift for you in the show notes below. You can download our morning 5-minute yum yum position and practice with your partner. It is a guided meditation where you and your partner take 5 minutes every morning. I mean, you could do it in the evening too, but in the morning to start your day, connecting, grounding into each other's bodies, and then moving on to your day so you're both connected, turned on, and who knows where your relationship will go from there.
We do.
We do. So enjoy. Another powerful lesson that I got from your memoir was that love is not enough. And I feel like that rings so true for a lot of us, because we'll be with our partner and we love them deeply, but you're looking at your life and you're like, I'm not as attracted as I used to be, or we are disconnected, or there's just different things that are happening. Life is complicated. There's different things that come up. You know, people have to take care of aging parents, young kids, careers, the stresses of everything. And sometimes the love that we feel for that person is just not enough to carry us through those difficult times, right? And so the beautiful thing about Tantra is that it really gives you the tools and techniques to get yourself through those things and not only survive them, but thrive as a result of them.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit more about these techniques and what we can do if we are in that moment of, I love my partner, but I'm just not in love with them anymore, like I used to. How can we get that back? That's the question, right?
So the techniques are really practices. And your technique is to brush your hair every morning a certain way, and it makes it long or curly or whatever you want because you've gotten into the practice of taking care of yourself a certain way. So practices really help take care of relationships and help you feel the love that you are for your partner, that you know you love, but you're not feeling the love. So the practices are having to do with touch, breathing, eye connection, and yes, it can be difficult, I know, to get your partner away from the screen, because I also live with a man who, if his eyes are on a screen, he is complete. He is fulfilled from the computer screen, first of all, telephone screen, television screen, and I want you to, here's the screen I want him to look into. And he's not as practiced or as comfortable looking into the screen of me as I would like him to be. But I love him just the same. But I've also had a lot more practice because in all my years teaching Tantra, it was all about practicing connection with strangers and with my beloved. So practice makes perfect. To the extent that you come close with your bodies and look into each other's eyes and practice feeling the love that you are and the love that you felt when you stood at the altar and got married, when you first fell in love and you couldn't get your hands off each other. It's all about bringing up those feelings that are always going to be inside you. But we get busy, as you said, we get so consumed with life. Life is so demanding these days and confusing and changing. This is not the same world we lived in 10 or 20 years ago.
It's not,
And it's not going to be the same world as AI comes in and all of the future miracles that are coming towards us. We're going to be living a lot longer, 20, absolutely. 30, 50 years longer than our parents lived. And how are we going to keep loving the same person? There's other people to love. It's just how to love them. Keeping the love alive within you is...
Absolutely.
You know, our friendship keeps a certain love that we find in our friendship with your girlfriends. We know how nourishing that is.
We have to adapt to the world being different, to society being different. And these things, our screens, the technology that we have has affected relationships, right? And I find even me and my husband, we have a rule. We talked about it. You know, communication is such a big key, right? Speaking your needs and desires. And we communicated about this because we noticed a trend a few years back where we would just be on our phones, you know, having a coffee or lunch, and we were like, hold up. Like, we're here together. We're not even communicating. We're not connecting. We're just like talking to other people or looking at social media. And so we have a rule that if we have a phone and one of us starts talking, the other one just puts the phone down, and we pay attention, we connect, we look into each other's eyes. Yeah. And it's a practice, like you said. It doesn't just come naturally. You have to say, you know, a lot of people, there's a lot of fun memes on the internet where, you know, people in a long-term relationship, they spend most of their time screaming at each other from another room, you know, and we do that too. And so we really, it's been a few months where we said, you know what, no more of that. Like, we have to, if you want to talk to me, come to the room that I'm in. If I want to talk to you, I come to the room that you're in. And it creates, it's such a small thing, but it creates a different dynamic. It creates, you show your partner respect. And so for a lot of long-term relationships, we forget to appreciate the partner and respect the partner. Yeah. I feel like, right? So bringing it back to basics, bringing it back to, like you say, it's a practice. Yes. It's not something that comes naturally.
I was going to say too that the practice, like if you're going to go lay down on your bed to be comfortable, to have a 10-minute intimacy connection. Yeah. The agreement needs to be the phones are in the other room.
Absolutely.
If there's a computer screen in the bedroom, it is covered or closed. Yeah. Because those things draw you towards
they're distracting.
That. They're totally distracting, and they are putting a big crimp into the intimacy that people need and crave and desire.
Absolutely.
So these hints, these reminders from us are because we've had to learn them too. I mean, I can go out for that 5 o'clock glass of wine with my partner and have my phone, and I can be busy, and you know, and one of us will say, oh, "Hold on, wait a minute," just like you are. Yeah. We're not spending this time with each other, and the agreement was to, you know, look at the sunset together.
Yeah, absolutely, right? And connect. Yeah. So if you find yourself in a similar situation, grab your honey, grab your partner, grab your beloved, and watch this episode together. Decide together on doing things differently starting today, starting right now. Make some new agreements with one another. Remember why you fell in love in the first place, and decide to respect one another again. Respect what each other's needs and desires, and give each other the same level of attention and care that you would in a new relationship. Things shift so quickly when you start appreciating your partner and showing them that they matter to you just as much, if not more, than they did in the beginning.
And if you need to set an alarm of 15 minutes or whatever of intimate time, set the alarm.
Absolutely.
Because, you know, some people get like all crazy nervous. Oh, what if we forget that we have to do this, that, and the other thing? Well, set an alarm. But in that 10 or 15 minutes that you're going to be connecting, it will feed and nourish the love that you are on the deepest of levels. And the more you do it, the more you practice it, the more you set 10-minute or 15-minute connects aside every day with yourself and with your partner, the more you will get done ultimately.
Yeah. So look at your partner right now and decide on the 10 minutes. What is important to you? What are you going to do? Are you just going to turn off the electronics, have a coffee, and chat about your day? Are you just going to get into the yum-yum position and hold each other for 5 minutes? What is that thing for you that will make you feel more connected, more loved, more appreciated? And it might be different for each of you. So take the 5 minutes each. Take 5 minutes for your needs and take 5 minutes for their needs. Just start the conversation. I love that you say, you know, it doesn't have to be perfect. You just have to start. You just have to start communicating. And it's a process. Like you said, we are learning every single day. We're in a long-term partnership and we never stop learning. And so it's like life. We never stop learning. The lessons keep coming as long as we're open to them and applying the principles.
Yeah. We were chatting a minute ago before the camera was on about how much it can mean when your partner asks you if he can kiss you, touch you, hold your breasts, touch your yoni. And by the same token, he will love it if you ask him, would you mind if I hold your lingam for a little while? Now, it's really important if the guy can understand that it doesn't have to lead to an ejaculation.
Mm-hmm.
If it can be just, I just want to put some love in to that part of your body because we don't have time for sex right now.
Yeah.
And our genitals need loving touch that in addition to sexual touch.
Mm-hmm.
So find the words to ask, may I?
Yeah, yeah.
It'll make
Touch
a
each
difference.
other more, yes. Touch each other more often,
Mhm.
and it will lead to more intimacy and more pleasure for both of you.
Absolutely.
Enjoy. There's a powerful lesson in your memoir that I really love, and it's one of the most important ones, I think, to take into the lessons for our relationships and love and intimate relationships.
Mhm.
And that is turning judgment into compassion and judgment into being curious. Because a lot of the times in a partnership, we can look at our partner and say, what's wrong with them?
Mhm.
What's wrong with you? Why are you doing it this way? But sometimes taking a break from that judgment and asking yourself, I wonder why, or getting curious about who your partner is, why they're thinking the way they think, is so powerful, and it can really change a situation. And in your book, you've been in so many different situations where your life was what you wanted it to be. You followed your heart, but then it wasn't all of a sudden, and you wanted something else. And instead of being angry, instead of blaming, you just decided to go your own way and do your own thing. And so there was a lot of compassion and understanding. So let us know how you arrived there and how we can apply that into our own relationships.
I can't give myself all the credit because I believe that I've always been paying close attention to the possibilities of opportunity. When opportunity knocks, there's some saying that I've heard in my life, when opportunity knocks, open the door.
Absolutely.
And so in every situation, with every marriage, and I got married in all my early relationships because that was just what you did. If you were sleeping with somebody and you loved them, the next step was getting married. So I always said yes forever to being married, and I still love those men forever in my heart. But something happened each time with about three relationships in a row where opportunity knocked at the door of my consciousness and at the door of my life. And I realized I can say no to this opportunity and stay true to the vows that I made with so-and-so. Or I can take a chance on following the power of this opportunity and still keep my heart open. And I would say that is what happened each time, because I never stopped loving anybody. I just Facebooked my third husband, who I haven't been in touch with for 15 or 20 years, and say, how are you? I've just been reading about our trip through the Rockies on horseback, and I love you, and I just wanted you to know that.
That's really sweet.
So even when the change is before your very eyes, and you know that in order to take advantage of an opportunity, you're going to have to change something that is set, that is, you've signed an agreement, you are married and you're living with this person, and this is where you are, that I had the right to change the course of my life. And each time I did that, it was very scary. I was giving up what was security each time, was a home and a partnership. A good man that loved me and was willing, to be married to me. I was willing to give those up several times in order to take advantage of an opportunity that I knew I had to take advantage of. I had to say yes to sailing on that sailboat with a guy that I called it love. I called it being in love, but it really wasn't. It was an infatuation. But it was also my soul knew that I needed adventure. And I needed to take advantage of the opportunities that came my way.
Absolutely. I think there's a big lesson for all of us in there and we're obviously not going to be following,
No, of course,
leaving our life behind. Most of us don't have that kind of courage or even want to, but there is a lesson there too. If something's calling you, turn to your partner and say, hey, I would really like to try this. I would really like to experiment with this. How can we make it work where it works for both of us? right?
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the times we want something, but we don't voice it.
Mm-hmm.
And so our partner cannot read our mind.
It's true.
And then friction happens, frustration happens, misunderstandings happen. And then people cheat or lie or deceive their partner. Where if there was just a conversation of, listen, I need to do this. Listen, I want to experience this. And that's what you've done so beautifully in your book, where you explain your experience. You've always been open with your partner and
Mm-hmm.
said, I need to do this because.
Mm-hmm.
And they were open-minded enough to say, go ahead, spread your wings and fly.
Yep, that's very
Right?
true.
It's
Very true.
very powerful.
Very true. And I could totally give my partners
Yeah.
credit for their being able to love me that big.
Mm-hmm.
That they didn't say, oh no, if you do that,
Yeah.
I'll throw
Yeah.
the book at you.
Yeah.
And I'll take everything and
Yeah.
you'll lose the house. And
Yeah.
they made room for me to spread my wings and fly.
Mm-hmm.
And so, in my deepest heart, I'm so grateful to everyone that I have been
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
in a love relationship,
Yeah.
because they understood
Mm-hmm.
that to love someone is to let them go. There was a little something that happened when I was a kid about a little bird sitting in the hand, and if you squeeze too tight, you'll hold the bird from flying.
Mm-hmm.
It will not love you.
Mm-hmm.
But if you open your hand and let the bird fly, it will probably circle all around the world and land right back in your
Mm-hmm.
hand.
It's beautiful. Yeah.
And I think I just knew that.
Yeah.
And I felt the same way about them,
Mm-hmm.
even though I might have thrown a fit,
Yeah.
especially if they wanted to be with another woman
Mhm.
or something that would, of course, make every
Yeah.
hair on my body stand up.
Yeah.
But I found the place in me that could say, okay, I'm not going to throw the book at you. I'm not going to throw you out with your shirts and your luggage and your socks.
Yeah.
Find them outside the door,
Yeah.
which was part of the threat. But I will welcome you home to our love
Wow.
and in deepest friendship.
Mm-hmm.
Go, my love, go.
Yeah.
And that's been learning to let go,
Yeah. Yeah.
just to
Yeah.
let it go,
Yeah.
and follow love has been
Yeah.
a
Absolutely.
big teaching for me.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And in rereading my memoir, I realized
Yeah.
I've done a pretty good job with that.
Absolutely. Yes, you have, for sure. I mean, I read your memoir and I know that I am not as courageous or open to that. I mean, if my partner came and said, I would like to sleep with another woman, I would not be okay with it, but I feel like, and you might also, connect with that, or you might be as open-minded and open-hearted and evolved as Caroline is. But I think there is a compromise. I think a relationship doesn't need to end just because a partner wants something else.
Yeah.
And the other partner is not open to it. I think it always comes down to communication and saying to each other, I am not okay with that, but maybe there's a compromise. So if your partner comes to you and says, I would like to experiment and maybe have a connection with another person,
Mm-hmm.
and that's not your thing, you could
Mhm.
say, I'm not okay with that. But how about we go to a strip club and you get a lap dance? Would that work? We'll do it together, or you do it yourself. That's my boundary, right? Like
Yeah.
kind of like work around it. There's
Gotcha.
always options. There's also, I've worked with couples who had such differences in their needs and wants, but they
Yeah.
still loved each other,
Mhm.
where they came to a conclusion that once a month or once every 3 months, the one partner was allowed to hire a sex worker, and they would have their fantasies, their kinks, their desires worked
Wow.
out with the sex worker,
Well,
and they would be
a paid for
safe,
sex worker.
paid
Yeah.
for sex worker. They would come back, and the marriage was continuing
Interesting.
the same way. So this is really where the judgment and compassion and curiosity comes into place in practice, because sometimes we get to the idea that if we're not aligned, it has to be the end
Yeah, I know.
of the relationship.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's not that at all. There's different forms of love and connecting, and every relationship is different. And so it always comes back down to communication. What do you need? What are your desires? And how can we make it work together?
Boy, speaking, on the subject of communication, and you've read this in my memoir from about the middle of the memoir to the end, where I was in a tantric marriage,
Uh-huh.
which turned out to be where we had the freedom to love other
Yeah.
men and women.
Yeah.
And really the invitation was never, I want to go sleep with someone, but I feel the need to awaken with this young man who was wounded in Vietnam, and I feel like I need to awaken with him.
Okay.
And so if I had been told by my husband at the time, or if my message was, I need to sleep with somebody, have sex with them, or fuck them, I don't think it would have gone over very well.
Yeah.
But we were operating at a level where communication was, and other attractions. If it didn't have to do with awakening, and if it didn't include the husband and the wife, at least energetically, it didn't have to be in the bed, but I know you belong to him, but I take the privilege of loving you. That actually worked a number of times.
Absolutely.
But it was all how it was held in the languaging of awakening versus sleeping.
Absolutely.
If you're going to go, you're not going to let your husband go sleep with somebody. But if he actually awakens with somebody and has more to bring back to you, that was a concept I at least had to entertain.
Absolutely. That you could work with.
I could work with that. And I found that it did happen. And that's one of the things I talk about in many of the chapters. I wrote the book because of the connections with those people I was allowed to love. By my beloved, who loved me that much, and knew I would come back.
Absolutely.
And knew I would come back blown away by the connection that I had with them. But I had to write the book so that I would never forget how generous love can be.
Absolutely.
That I had that much space.
And that's why we can all learn from you so much.
There's a lot to be learned, a lot of ways in which we can hold sharing a partner with somebody. And this is a subject that's near and dear to my heart because so many people face it, whether they talk about it or not.
Absolutely.
You guys can at least say it out loud. Many couples, the woman or the man can't even say it out loud that they wish they could awaken or sleep with somebody else just for the variety of it.
And it's a reality, and it's just about opening up. So think for yourself now, what are some of the things that you have on your heart that are calling you, that you would like to experiment with, but you're too shy or too scared to share those with your partner? What would happen if you just came at it from an open heart and just saying, honey, I just want to share something with you. I'm just curious about something. How could we work through this together? How could we, and what are your fantasies? What are some of the things that you're interested in?
Make a list.
And then see, meet in the middle. It doesn't have to be black or white. You can just find a little, we've given you some examples from little ones to extremes, and you find your own middle ground, because every relationship is different. Your love is your love, and you decide how to do it, with whom to do it, and what that looks like.
You can create a connection time with your partner that's called heart talks. And you really are invited, each of you, to listen to the other one's heart talking about, there is somebody that is in my life at work that I see how much I could help that person if I was free to love them. And just talk about it. It doesn't have to be a yes or a no, but have the talk with your partner and get those things out on the table and play chess with them. Move them around.
And pay attention to how you communicate, because a lot of the times in a partnership, I feel like it's so easy to judge your partner and say, well, for example, they're not talking to me, they're closed off, or they're not sharing their fantasies. But ask yourself, what am I doing to bring that kind of behavior to the table? Why is my partner not feeling comfortable sharing their fantasies, right? Instead of saying, well, there's something wrong with them, ask yourself, how am I showing up? What am I doing and contributing to the fact that my partner doesn't want to open up? And just start to think about it and start asking open-ended questions and communicating. This is not something that will happen overnight. It's a big topic, but it's something that is very beneficial. If you have a fantasy, if you have a kink that turns you on, there's something to be said for voicing it, sharing your deepest desires with your partner, and figuring out a way that works for you.
Communicating about it. As soon as it's out between you. And usually it's fear that she's going to bring it up again tomorrow, or if I tell her, she's not going to want me to go to work, and all these kinds of things. We've all got them, so let's get them out there on the table, right?
And that's exactly why we're having these kind of conversations, right? It's so diverse. I mean, Caroline has her own stories. I have my own boundaries and stories, and you will have your own.
Mhm.
You and your partner will have your own boundaries. You and your partner will have your own agreements that work for you or don't work for you.
Yeah.
And it's all perfect. You know, there's no right or wrong way to do a relationship. As long as it's all consensual, you're not harming anyone. Do you and
Yeah.
live your life your way. It is that thing that you said. If something's calling you, give yourself permission to at least look how it would be like to step outside of that box, to
Right.
follow your heart. You don't even have to, you know, sometimes the fantasy is better than reality.
Oh, for sure.
And you can use your mind as a sex organ. You can use fantasy as spice in your relationship without ever stepping outside of the boundary that you have with your partner.
Yeah.
But it is just paying attention, looking at these stories that Caroline is sharing with us and saying to yourself, what is there in there that I could allow my spirit to fly or my heart to, you know, soar or and share with your partner and just play with it. It's not harmful. There is nothing wrong with it.
No, it will wake up
Yeah.
a lot of unaccessed energy, a lot of energy between you that could be accessed, that could bring more aliveness to the relationship. But you got to get in there and say it.
Yeah.
Right? Take a risk. Risk.
Yes.
Oh my God, if I said that, he would be out the door or she
Yeah.
would be out there. Try it.
Yeah.
Give the partner a chance
Yeah.
to process something that you're afraid of.
Yeah. Now, don't bring out these conversations up when you're in bed, when you're about to be intimate.
No.
You know, bring these conversations, maybe watch this video together and start that conversation that way.
Yeah.
Just pick your time and space where you bring these conversations up and go gently, be open-minded and give your partner time to catch up. Don't just spring this onto them when you're watching this video.
Yeah, right. Make an agreement over a time period that you're going to
Yes.
have these honest conversations.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. If you'd like to learn how to communicate with your partner a little bit better, a little bit deeper, a little bit more effectively, we have a free gift for you in the show notes below. You can download our small phrases, big results in the show notes below and start communicating with your partner. Start opening up some of those sacred conversations that you want to be having.
I'm excited for you.
There's a powerful lesson that Tantra teaches us, and that is that relationships don't just happen. They are created. They're created consciously, with practice, with attention. And that's something that you've also really practiced. You not only talk about it, you really put that into practice. Is that great relationships, no matter what stage in your life, you put the work in. And for when it was done. But while you were in it, you were working at it, you were learning, you were growing.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about how we can improve our relationships and how we can make them great.
Well, you both have to agree that it could be better. So certainly having the conversation with each other is a good start. I know I didn't know about working on relationships until I got into one where the man knew it as much, if not more, than I did, and had the suggestions and the practices that were tantric, who taught me. And there were times when I really didn't want to open my eyes during sex. I didn't want to be connected. I wanted to be in my own fantasy world. And then I'd sometimes hear him say, "Open your eyes, honey, I'm here." And I'd kind of go, shit, you know, I was doing fine over there with my eyes closed. So it's not always what both of you want to do, but I think having the agreement that we're going to at least talk about it every week or twice a month, have truth talk time about what there could be more of, or what is you'd like more of, or what you love about your relationship, so that the other person can hear you telling the truth.
Absolutely.
And being in full disclosure. And being intimate enough, whether you're out to dinner in candlelight or you're out on your backyard by the barbecue.
Absolutely.
And the kids are busy playing, you can really talk to each other.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of the times in relationships, we get frustrated and resentful towards our partner, and they might not even know why.
No, that's true.
And then we take it out in inappropriate places,
It's
like
true.
not being into sex because we're mad at them, but they have no idea we're even mad at them, right? And so taking a little moment, and it doesn't have to be long, you can just do 10 minutes over coffee and say, okay, how's everything? Business, work. finances, sex. Do you need more of it? Are you getting the kind that you like? And just open those kind of conversations. And your partner might surprise you with the things that you would never come up with on your own, their perspective, right? Because in a relationship, there's two people. And we sometimes forget that because we live in our own body, we live in our own mind. We kind of tend to live in our own world. But opening up the conversation to include your partner and say, what do you think about all of these things? How are you doing? I know I have my frustrations. I know I have my, like you're doing this wrong, you're doing that wrong. But how about turning the tables around? What is it from your perspective? How do you feel about things? And it's interesting to open up that conversation, get out of yourself a little bit and consider your partner as a full, whole being, not just a half of this relationship, because it's not 50-50. We have this misconception that relationships are 50-50, right? It's really not. You're a whole person with your whole experience, and so is your partner. And sometimes looking into that world of theirs can be so revealing and so telling. And I feel like with Tantra, it does open up the connection, the conversation. And when you take even 10 minutes a week is enough to just give you an insight into what could be better, what could be different.
Well, I would say that your 20 years of successful relationship, you've just naturally had these practices in you somehow knew them. You somehow knew to
learned it all. I learned them. Reading your memoir, reading your books. Every time I read a book, I'm like, how can I apply this into my life? And that's my intention with this series too. I feel like no moment is ever wasted. There is always a lesson in there. It can be it can be a subject that you're not even interested in, but you can learn something from that person, from their experiences, from their life. Right? So when I hear something that's interesting, I'm like, I'll try it. I'll apply it to my life and let's see what happens. Some stick, some don't, but
I know you to be that way. Yeah, that's great. But for some of our listeners, these are new ideas.
Yeah, absolutely.
And not something that they've been doing for 20 years and not something that it's even occurred to them. Because most of us are programmed to reach the levels of success that were handed down to us, whether it's having our own home or having our family, and having enough of success in those ways that we're supposed to be happy. And so what we really are appealing to are the parts of you that maybe haven't been invited to feel, I wish there was more of, or I wish I could talk about this or that, or whatever those fantasies might be of yours that you haven't felt free to talk about, or that your partner doesn't know how to make time and invite you. So to have that naturally in a relationship for a long time, it's really great. But a lot of people don't.
Absolutely.
A lot of people don't.
And I want to stress, it did not come naturally.
I see.
Like when we met 20 years ago, we were different people. We were 21 years old. We were so young. We had no idea what we were doing, right? But we did kind of these things. We would watch a video. We would read a book. We would trial and error, just try different things and see what happens. Talk to each other. The one thing that we always come back to is turning to one another, instead of turning away from each other and figuring things out together. And it always comes back down to communication, to open, truthful communication.
That's the main thing I've heard from couples. There was an interview with a couple that had been together 69 years.
Wow.
And they were asked, what is the one thing that has kept you? And their answer was kindness in communication.
That's beautiful. And I feel that deeply. I think that is really a truth that is a fundamental truth for relationships.
Yeah, I do too. I think that it supersedes sex. It supersedes everything. Yeah. Because we are communicators and we need to be heard and we need to be seen.
Absolutely, yeah. So pause for a moment and ask yourself, where can I give my partner a little bit more kindness? Where can I communicate better in a more clear way where I'm expressing myself and not just blaming my partner? And those little things will just transform everything for you. It's never a huge thing that helps us make the biggest transformation. Sometimes it's the smallest little adjustment that creates the biggest shift. So just give it a try. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But what if it does?
What if it does?
For any relationship, practicing what you learn, putting it into practice is such an important part, because we think that great sex just happens, great relationships just happen, great connection just happens, but it doesn't. It's like if you want to have a body that's in shape, you have to go to the gym. Yeah. I mean, you can get away with it when you're young, but as we get older, we have to move our bodies to keep in shape, to keep them functioning well. The same thing is with relationships, right? If you want to sustain a long-term, strong, good, intimate relationship, if you want to keep having great sex, you have to work at it. You have to put in the work. You have to put it into practice. And that is where Tantra really comes through. You know, I've never found a modality better than Tantra at really connecting the partnership on a physical, emotional, spiritual level, but offering the actual practices that are easy to do, that are free, that are not time consuming if you don't have the time, but will give you big return on investment. Your little bit of time and effort and connection and attention really yield huge results. Your relationship can be transformed in a moment through applying a simple tantric technique, opening yourself up to your partner and switching into a different energy, how you communicate, how you connect. And so how has that been for you? How do you feel that Tantra has done that for you? Because I feel like that's been one of the most phenomenal shifts and changes in your life.
By way far. And I've studied with a lot of the psychotherapists, and I've done a lot of therapy groups and read all the books that I was supposed to read. And it was the actual experience with a partner, with a man who wanted to practice love as a way of life. And that doesn't mean sexual love, though it might have meant sexual connection that didn't result in an ejaculatory orgasm. He taught me about a daily visit. If my wand could be inside of you just for a visit every day. And I love that he would ask for that. Not just do it because I was laying next to him and I was his wife, but he would ask me if he could come in for a visit. And that was maybe a really big thing for somebody else, but it was a huge thing for me too. That I say, don't forget, it's just a visit, because I am the kind of person that likes to get up in the morning and go do all the stuff I have to do. And he totally respected that, and everything that was of an emotional female part of me was important to him. And for men to be able to take that, who you are, seriously as an emotional feeling being, call it Tantra or call it
whatever you want.
A happy woman is a happy household.
And you know, for a lot of us in long-term relationships, the number one thing that goes is intimacy, is sex, is connection, right? And if we could just get back to visiting and touching one another and having those conversations, how would the relationship be different on every single level, right?
For instance, when women go through menopause or women go through various things, and mostly it's the women, sometimes it's the men, and sex can't be what it once was. So there's lots of things you could do that are sexual, that don't require an erection, don't require entry, don't require an orgasm, but they're intimate and your body parts are being invited and respected. And I think that also has been a huge factor for me, that I didn't have to come, I didn't have to love it, I didn't have to even want to. And I could say slower, 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 and that was okay. And Yeah, so expecting sex and love and a relationship to be like it is in the storybooks and the romance novels, it's probably not going to be like that.
But you can create something that
Yes,
works for you.
For you, your
know?
own unique version of passion.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
You know, when I have a couple in front of me and I'm coaching them, usually the number one complaint is the guy will say, I want more sex. I'm not getting enough. And the girl will say, I don't want it as much. I don't necessarily not like it. I like it, but I'm not turned on, right? And when he hears that, he says, oh, I thought you just didn't like sex. And so I go into explaining, it's not that she doesn't like sex. She's just not getting the sex that she wants, the sex that
the
fulfills
kind
her.
of sex.
Yeah. And so then we talk about, you know, what would happen if instead of, you know, being in your head and thinking my girlfriend, my wife doesn't like sex, you would just go into the kitchen, grab some coconut oil, turned her on her stomach and started massaging her back and went down to the bum and to the legs and just gave her a sensual, slow massage, 15 minutes. Your woman will be turned on like that, I can guarantee you that. And those visits will be more frequent, right? And so now that I have the tool of Tantra, that's also so powerful because I can offer them the tool of the yoni massage. You know, she comes first. If you want more sex, if you want her to be into you, turn her on. There's nothing wrong with getting the sex that we want or need. Males are just more outwards. Females are just more inwards. So take the time, give her a yoni massage, open her up, and you're going to have the best sex of your life.
And as you're so cute when you say, and more lube, more lube, more lube.
Oh,
and that was a big life changer for me too, when I realized that I could apply the lube. And I could decide when there's more lube needed.
Absolutely.
And I could run the show.
Absolutely.
Wow, because we don't grow up learning that.
No.
And it actually will make all the difference in the world. So yeah, you're absolutely right.
And I have so much compassion because us as women, we do have a lot of hang-ups about our physical bodies, about our physical appearance. And so the more the male can step in and say, honey, you look beautiful. Look at your, look at your body. Or just, you know, turn her over and give her a massage and say it out loud. You have a beautiful body. Turn her on. And the more we can do that, you can have the sex life that you want. You absolutely can. It's just about using the tools, practice, you know, what you're learning and be creative with it. Because women want as much sex as men. It's a myth that women aren't sexual.
That's true.
It's just that they're not getting the sex that they want, crave.
Sex.
They're not being opened up. You know, the wand, the lingam, the penis is an outward organ. And it can be turned on like that. Just the anatomy, right? Female, it just takes a little bit longer. It's an internal process. And so we have this amazing tool called the Divine Touch Yoni massage. Try it out. We're going to link it in the show notes below. It's a 15-minute massage for your woman. And just try it out. Give yourself 30 days. You can do anything for 30 days. Give yourself the idea, the trial run of every time you want to be intimate, take the first 15 minutes and give your woman a yoni massage. Use lots of lube, put on some candles, you know, make it sexy. And it's only 15 minutes and see where it goes. I guarantee you, your sex life will be transformed in 30 days. Less than 30 days.
And she needs to know you're not in a hurry. That however long... that you're not looking at the clock on the headboard behind her head to see if the 15 minutes is up. That's important too.
So we're giving you the tools. We're giving you the stories behind why. We're trying to get your mind to just see the possibilities. And so now it's up to you to apply them, to use them. So just like you get your bum into the gym when you want to be in shape, just like you take a shower to stay fresh, just like you brush your teeth to keep your hygiene together. Take the hygiene of your relationship. Pay attention. Open up the conversation. Touch lots. Use these techniques that we're bringing to you. All the tools are below, available to you. Use them. Practice with them and see how much your relationship will change.
I'm excited for all of you.
And remember, we love hearing from you. We
Yeah.
want you to live the turned on life. So let us know in the comments below. Email us how your journey is going. And also let us know what else you want to talk about. Open up the conversation.
Absolutely.
What are the topics that you want to hear from Caroline on
Yeah.
and that you'd like to discuss?
Mm-hmm.
a
Whether it's
dialogue.
anal sex or oral sex or any kind of anything.
Nothing is taboo at Modern
Nothing
Love
is
Tantra.
taboo. No, nothing is taboo. It's all welcome. So let us know.
Thank you for watching, and we will see you in the next episode. Big love.
Bye.